In this video, we'll look at what you get for free inside of Reaktor 6 with Reaktor blocks. So Reaktor blocks is a modular synth inside of Reaktor, which is itself a modular sort of synth environment. It's a new way of building stuff with kind of pre-made modules. The free version gets you quite a lot of stuff, not really any sort of creative sound mangling things, but those you can buy separately. But anyways, let's just look at what you can get. I've been playing with this a little bit today, and I thought I kind of have enough to show you guys. So we're going to go to Insert Virtual Instrument, and then from here we're going to Reaktor 6. It's going to ask you if you want to insert multiple tracks. We're going to say no here. It's just going to be the stereo out that we're using today. And when you come into this, it's going to ask you what you want to do. So you click on Patch. And so now we've got a new Reaktor rack. You could also go to the File menu inside of Reaktor. A new rack will get you to this view. I'm going to pop out the plugin from the effects chain and make it as big as possible, because we're going to need a lot of space here. So this is basically a modular synth, and there are a couple modules built in, kind of like the things that you need to get MIDI in, audio out. So this is the audio in module. If you want to take audio from Reaper, process it through here, that's how you do it. There's the built-in clock. If this is set on external, that's going to run from Reaper's transport. So if I play here, you see it's going along with Reaper. But if we click on an internal, then this play button will start and stop our sequence. So for this, I'm probably going to use the internal. Then we got utility note in. So that's just going to take your MIDI input, and then you choose what you want to do with it from there. And that's automatically connected. So if I hit a key on my keyboard, you can see that the note light's flashing. Mod wheel, utility level stereo. I'm actually going to delete this one because we're going to use a mixer instead. So you can just right click and delete. And then audio output, and that's going to connect to Reaper. You could also run this standalone. I'm using it in Reaper because it's a little easier for me to mangle the sounds after. And as I mentioned earlier, there's the option of having multiple outputs. If you wanted multiple outputs, having it inside of the DAW is going to make it a lot easier to record this out. So you just click on Add, and as you add in more, basically it becomes, you can have up to 16 outputs in the plugin, which connect to tracks in Reaper. For now, we're just doing 2 outputs, stereo out. Inside of Reaktor, there's what they call the side pane, and it's just, if you click on this little magnifying glass button, it's going to come up with the library. And again, if we need this magnifying glass button on the left pane opened, and it's going to start off in the blocks base section. In here, there's 2 little folders. Bento box is kind of all of the, the things that make the sound and the things that modulate it. So we've got our VCA, filter, crossfade, a mixer, envelope generator, LFO, oscillator, CV processor, sample and hold, 4 mod sequencer, and 8 step sequencer. In the utility folder, there's more kind of general management sort of things. CV mixer, level mono and stereo metering, 4-channel mixer. Actually, let's just drag that in right away. I'm going to put that in between the input and output at the top. There's the clock if you needed a second one, gates and triggers, things like macro knobs and switches. This is a way you can link multiple parameters inside of your module synth and then control them from one kind of performance-based view. And for switches, it's a toggle between 2 different values. So either on or off, or 2 different values. Actually don't need either of those. So I'm just going to hit Shift and click on both of them and hit the delete key to remove them. And the other one that might be interesting to have in here is the scope. So you can bring that in. I'm going to put that between the mixer and the output. And let's just take the left channel input, bring it into the input on the scope, and then the output right will go to the audio output, and the audio left, again, will go to the audio out. I'm actually already annoyed that the cables go in front of the scope. That's better. So if we don't need this left pane, we can close it like that. And then there's a few other views here. So right now we're in a patch view. So this is going to show all the inputs and outputs and the patch cables of everything that's inserted in here. But we can go to just a more simplified view. I'm not sure what they call it. Compact view. Then there is a ports view, which will hide the cables but show you all the inputs and outputs. And patch view is most of the time you're going to be using that unless you're performing with it. And at that point, you probably want to just have on a compact view. All right, back to inserting some effects and things in here. So we need something that makes a sound, and that's going to be an oscillator. We're just going to build a basic subtractive synthesizer here. Bring in an oscillator, bring in a VCA. That's a voltage controlled amplifier. That's going to control the volume, and we're going to use an ADSR envelope generator to manipulate that volume to our desired shape. So, attack, decay, sustain, release to get a particular sound that we're going for. So for now, that's what we're going to put in here. Going to start making some connections. I'll take the output of the oscillator and put it into the input of the VCA. I'll take the output of the VCA and I'll bring it into the input 1 left of the mixer, and input right one will also be there. If I turn up the VCA here, you can see it on the meters, and you can see it on the scope that we have a very low frequency signal here. So we can bring up the pitch by increasing it there. But because this is expecting a MIDI note to turn this on and off, we actually have to set this up a different way. So we're going to take the pitch from the note in, the pitch port here, and drag that over to the pitch on the input side of the oscillator. And then I'm just going to hit a key on my keyboard. And so now we can choose the pitch. But it's just on continually. So that's why we need something that controls turning it on and off in a musical way. We're going to take the gate signal and put that into the ADSR gate input. So there's a little gate thing here on the left of the envelope generator. Now, an ADSR generator doesn't make sound. It's a control voltage. So where the other things that we've connected so far are an audio output from the oscillator. We've got a control voltage to tell it what pitch to play. But then it's audio signal flow through the rest of it. ADSR generator just makes a control signal. So we're going to take the output of this, connect it to the A port of the VCA. So this is a modulator. The amount knobs, they're actually hidden in here. So you click on the A, and that shows you kind of this gray outline of what this will do. So here we go. Using this, we're choosing the maximum amount. Or we could set this the other way. If we drag this down, when I hit a key, it's going to get quieter. It's going to go to that lower level. So I'll bring this all the way down, and I'll bring this almost all the way up. I'm just going for about 12 on the meter here. Basically, the on-off of the keyboard goes to the ADSR generator that is using attack, decay, sustain, release parameters to control the level of the volume control and how much. Usually when you're using an audio signal with this, you want this to be on the exponential. So here it says linear, and we're going to click on that, so it's exponential. That's just going to be more like what we're used to hearing with a volume control. I'm going to turn up the decay. Actually, I'm going to turn down the sustain. I don't want any sustain here. sort of a beepy thing. So sustain is the continuous level of this control. And if you watch the little ring around the level knob, you'll see I'll bring up the attack. So it slowly comes up, then the decay is kind of like how long it stays at that initial level. Then sustain is going to drop to another level. And then release is after you let go, after the gate closes, how long until it stops producing the sound. I'm probably just going to do something like this. Okay, so now we have a sound and we were able to control it a little bit. I'm going to bring in a filter so we can modify the audio signal and change the sound of this in another way. So I'm going to bring that in here. Because this is an audio signal, we need to break the patch from between the VCA and the mixer. So I'm going to take, now let's take the oscillator and put it directly into the SVF filter. So go to output, drag it to the input, and then we're going to take the output here and bring it over to the VCA input. So the order of these is now more like this. Oscillator goes into the filter goes into the VCA. VCA is controlled by the ADSR. And we can adjust this. And we're on a sine tone, so it's not really going to have any harmonics, not a lot of effect on this signal, but we can drag this orange circle to change the oscillator shape, wave shape. Let's just do a basic, really common thing. Let's take the LFO module, bring that in here. Actually, I'll put it right below. Reaktor blocks, everything automatically snaps to the left. If you're used to VCV rack, you can put things anywhere, organize things any way you like, but this one, it snaps to the left. So an LFO, again, is a control signal, not a audio signal. So we're going to take the output of this and go into the, let's just put it on A modulator for the filter, and we'll click on the A in the top section, and we're going to choose how much cutoff knob are we going to adjust. So I want it to come down, but this LFO is set on a bipolar. Half of its range is going to be below, and half of it's going to be above. There's a little button at the top, this sort of wave shape thing. You press it, and then it's only going to be from that top value. It's not split between positive and negative, it's just positive and then down to 0 again. I guess I need a sustain. And we can adjust the speed of it by dragging here in this teal colored circle. We could change the wave shape here. I'm just dragging up. So now we've added in modulation and LFOs, and so that's a way we can adjust things automatically. What I'd like to show you next is the step sequencer. Now this is, again, something we're going to be connecting gates signals to. So let's start off by going to the the gate output of the clock, and we're going to drag that into the gate input, so the left side of the step sequencer. I think we're going to have to disconnect the pitch control here. So we're going to go from pitch into pitch on the sequencer. In here, we gotta press this track button. So now this step sequencer is going to track the pitch. Yeah, so it's gonna get the pitch and then add in the note values here. So we're gonna take the pitch output, bring that to the synth. I think I got that right. So let's play this and see if we get any sort of signal happening here. You can see that it's going through, but we're not sending this gate anywhere yet. So we need to send the gate into the, I'm going to disconnect the gate signal here, delete, and we're going to drag the gate from the sequencer into the ADSR. And we can turn on and off the muting by just clicking like that. We can turn on a glide, and go up to a different note. And we can drag down here on the numbers. You can adjust the velocity. And we can use the velocity as a modulator, so we could take the, let's take the velocity. I think this LFO has gone crazy on me. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, let's take the velocity and bring that into the A input, A modulation input of the oscillator. And so I'm going to adjust the wave shape slightly. And so we'll just put in some random velocities here. So this is another way of modulating things here. So we're using the velocity in the step sequencer to change what oscillator shape we're getting. And by the way, you have all of the different oscillator shapes available at all times with the different outputs. So the main output is whatever you set here, but you can also take the saw output, and let's just drag that into the input 3. Now this isn't going through the ADSR or anything like that, so it's not going to really work right, but I just want to kind of point out that a single oscillator, you know, you can get a lot more. You don't necessarily need to add in one oscillator per idea that you have. So you've got a sequencer, you've got an LFO, you have something that makes a sound, you have a filter, you have volume control and all that kind of stuff. This doesn't come with any reverbs or delays or anything like that. But if you're running this multi-channel, you can take this out, run it through an additional effects chain in Reaper, and you have a lot more options there. You could just use this as a source material. You can use this to kind of generate ideas. Here's one I did earlier. So this is 3 oscillators, 3 step sequencers. They're doing different things. I got one that's sort of like a kick sound. Another that's sort of a bass sound. So yeah, you can do quite a lot with it, but it is quite limited in terms of creative effects. So that's where I want to end it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter, support the Reaper blog through Patreon, and visit reaperblog.net for a lot more tutorials.